11Alive News starts now.
Nice to be with you here on 11Alive Plus for another hour from our streaming center. It's where we follow breaking news from across the nation and here at home as it happens. We also have important interviews with newsmakers. You'll be hearing from GDOT. Check out road conditions coming up a little later in the show. Also, Chesley has your forecast. But first, I want to get out to 11Alive Stephanie Chaynock following the scene of this fire from overnight in Forest Park, and it has injured 2 people. Steph now joining us live with what she knows. Good morning.
And good morning, Dan. Yeah, we know it was a total of 6 people that were actually inside of this house when this fire started. And they all were able to get out. Like you mentioned, 2 of them injured. And we actually just bumped into a neighbor out here this morning. We've got Raymond Humphreys. And Raymond, you told me you live about 1 block kind of behind this building.
Yes. When I came out, I saw a lot of fire, and it was like really, really bad. It was like a lot of fire, and the neighbors came out, and I never saw like a lot of fire like that before.
What time was this? Did you
like
smell something?
Well, the neighbors knocked on my door, and so everybody came out. It was like 4 in the morning, and everybody came out, and it was scary to see a lot of fire.
I told you that there were 2 people injured, but everyone, all 6, were able to get out. Now you're seeing kind of what's left over of this house. You knew what it looked like before the fire. I mean,
it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. But to see like a house like come down, it's like your home and just finish. It's really bad.
Do you by chance know anything about the neighbors that lived here?
I don't. I saw them. I usually see them. They had like chickens and stuff in the backyard, but they like really quiet, good people, but they don't really like bother anybody.
Yeah.
They never bother nobody.
Wow. So you must have really great neighbors, considering even the fire crews, Forest Park Fire, telling me that it was neighbors that came to knock on their door. What kind of community do you guys have here?
It's a really good community. A lot of people, they come out, and they just like, everybody's quiet. The kids come out and ride their bikes and play sports. But it's a really good neighborhood.
Wow. Well, Raymond, thank you so much. I know it's cold out here, but thanks for
really
speaking
cold.
with us. We're going to let you go back to your home and stay warm.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Giving a little insight there of the neighborhood here, but like I mentioned, just a lot of damage. I want to step out now so that everyone at home can kind of see what we're talking about. I mean, he saw the house before. He lives a block over. He says it's a beautiful home, or it was, but this is just what's left over. Now, the Forest Park Battalion Chief tells me that this fire lasted just about an hour and a half, but as you can see, this home just a complete loss. 6 people were inside, 2 injured, and we also have some images, if we can pop those up, of what the flames looked like around 4 a.m. Like when that neighbor says he first found out and saw what was happening. You could just see all the flames and just how almost completely engulfed this home was. Fire crews tell us it's a split level home, and actually they just left the scene in the last hour, but said that they actually were even telling their crew members to stay away from the right side of this home because of if it's, just stable enough to support them. Here's more from the fire officials this morning.
Once they got the majority of it knocked down, as you can see, most of the damage is to the 2nd story. Matter of fact, it is crews are staying out of that area just for the potential for collapse. Currently, right now, they're putting out hot spots, doing some overhaul. We still have some hot spots that are buried under some debris and everything, and the wind out here is not really helping. So.
Clear the area in about the last 40 or so minutes, and obviously the big question is how did such a large fire happen here? One of the coldest days of the year. We asked fire crews, did they know what started the fire inside this home? They told us that it's still under investigation. Dan, back to you.
Seth, did I hear you correct that it was the neighbors who came to knock on their door to alert them their home was on fire?
Absolutely. That is what the Forest Park Battalion Chief told us this morning. He said that it was neighbors that first noticed it. They ran and knocked on the front door, but also that neighbor we just spoke to who lives a block over, he says that people were knocking on his door to let him know there was a fire. So clearly a close-knit community here in Forest Park that looks out for each other.
Yeah, great to see. Okay, although we are concerned for the folks hospitalized this morning and wishing them well. Seth, thank you very much for that live report. All right, let's move on now and talk about the day ahead when it comes to the weather. Great to be with you here on 11Alive Plus. Chesley McNeil joining us here. Chesley, you guys and the weather team just extended the weather impact alert day.
Yeah, it's going to be cold once again tomorrow. Temperatures will be down into the teens. We'll have a little bit of a wind, not as windy as it will be today, but another cold start to the day. Temperatures will feel like the single digits and maybe even zero out there in some spots. So, yeah, some decisions will have to be made, but none for us. We'll be here. We'll be at work, folks, to let you know exactly what's going on. Take a look around the nation. Now, half of the nation is under some type of cold alert. Can you believe that? Now, all the precipitation is out of the way. But the cold air is here, especially for the eastern half of the nation. That's just straight up cold, folks. Yeah, places like Dallas today will only be in the 20s for highs. You got the single digits up there to the far north. We have a cold air alert as well. This will be for tomorrow, as a matter of fact. The one we had for today has been allowed to expire. But tomorrow, we're looking at wind chills once again in the single digits. It will be a cold morning once again, despite the fact that we will have the sunshine around today. Mostly sunny skies out there, and our temperatures won't climb all that much. We're going to stay in the 20s at least through about 11, 12 o'clock, and then rise into the low 30s for highs today. Winds out of the northwest, anywhere between 20 and 25 miles per hour. Gusts will be in the 30 mile per hour range. And so you got to be thinking where we've had amounts of about a half inch, quarter of an inch of ice, that could blow over some of those trees that are weighed down a little bit, or even some of those power lines or power poles that are weighed down. That could do some damage there. So you may hear about more power outages in some of those spots up to our northwest. That's where the brunt of the ice and sleet was. Here in the metro area, we got about 1/10 of an inch. There may have been some spots, isolated spots with 1/4 of an inch of ice, but hopefully things are melting as the sun is starting to shine, especially on the roadways. That will be the case. But certainly tomorrow morning, or with temperatures going down tonight, down into the 20s and the teens, we'll see some refreezing taking place on some of the spots that may be shaded or, just not seeing a whole lot of sunlight. So things we have to be careful of. Hopefully a lot of folks are not going back to work, certainly not going back to school today. I'm out as well, Kennesaw State University, out today out of caution, as they like to say, for the weather. Good news, Dan, is that as we look at the extended outlook, it shows that we will stay dry.
Okay.
At least. We're going to stay cold, below average. We should be in the 50s this time of year. We'll only be in the 40s for highs. And then another cold surge is coming as we head into next week, which could be really cold. I'm going to, at this point, and Monday, I'm saying 30s. I'm going to say low 30s. But we could be colder than that.
Do you know anybody who says this is their favorite month of the year?
Only people who have birthdays this time of year. That's about it.
What I'm saying.
And only that day.
Exactly. There's a reason for that. Hey, I also got to ask, we had some storms yesterday come through. After working, midnight to noon yesterday, I was passed out at that time. I slept right through it. Yeah. But this was actually rain that we needed, right? Oh, absolutely. We still have drought conditions over the area, much of the state, and at least a moderate to severe drought. And so this actually helps us out. As far as the rainfall goes, if you want to look at it from a bright side that way. Yeah. And so we just going forward will have to try to avoid, because cold air is going to come back and then warm air is going to come back. And we're going to have to avoid at least it coming at the same time. And that's what happened with this particular storm. Remember I was hinting at another storm coming? Yes,
for the upcoming?
remember.
Yeah. So that has turned around. Okay. Right? It is showing some snow just to the east of us. So South Carolina may be seeing some. What you're looking at right now is the drought monitor. The drought monitor is showing where we have severe drought over much of the state. Now you get into the central and southern portions of the state, you're talking about severe drought, that dark gray or gold area there. And then those reds are where you have extreme drought. And we have some of that up here in North Georgia, so we'll have to be on the lookout at much of North Georgia, though, under a moderate drought, and then some abnormally dry areas as well. So, yeah, the rain actually helps us out. We need it, folks, unfortunately. I know it's a nuisance for you, but certainly we could use that. And, again, shout out to Reams. I know you say that all the time. Shout out to Reams.
It's incredible.
He's quick. He's really quick. He's good.
Reams, go ahead. I want to punch up the four shot, if you could. Yeah. So this is our producer Reams. He does a great job punching up all these shots. And,
Shout out, man.
And we're just on the same wavelength sometimes.
Hey, I love it, man. I love it. That's why I love coming on the show, man.
All right.
I'm going to try to. Hey, look. From now on, I'm going to try to get him. I'm gonna try to get him. I'm gonna see if I can get him.
Well, on this one was easy. I know the drought monitor website, so that makes that one easy.
I'm gonna call some stuff out and see if he's able to pull it up.
I'd love to see it.
It may be sports. It may be anything, man. I'm gonna see. That's gonna be our ongoing thing.
Chesley, pull up the Eagles highlights.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Chesley, thanks. Mm-hmm. All right, Reams, what do you want to do next? You want to take a break? Yeah, and coming up, we do want to touch on road conditions around here, and we're going to be talking with Georgia, with GDOT, about what they are seeing right now, and also kind of their reaction to the last few days. How would they rate how drivers were? That is coming up next. We'll see you in a few minutes. All right, let's get a check of roads today. It's the day after the storm. Ice, of course, a huge concern all weekend, and we had days to prepare for it and days to tell you to stay inside. Natalie Dale was one of those advising you on how to best go about that. She joins us now from GDOT. Natalie, good to see you again this morning. The day after the storm, how would you grade drivers from over the weekend?
I'm going to give them a solid 9 out of 10. It would be 10 out of 10, except for the drivers we did see out on the road were going entirely too fast for conditions, which I think is bound to happen when you have open, clear roads, which is the 9 out of 10 part. At the sort of peak of this, we saw an 80% reduction in volume on our roads, which was perfect. Chef's kiss. That's exactly what we needed to see on our roads for us to be able to get the amount of work done that we did, which has resulted in the state the roads are in now.
80% reduction. Did that even surprise you?
It does surprise me because, I've said before and I'll say again, after 15 years in this, wearing this hat, people sometimes choose not to listen to me, oftentimes choose not to listen to me, sometimes, at their own risk. And so when you have that many people heed a warning, it means that we really are doing the job that we need to be doing to keep people safe, and they're heeding that warning. So we hope that citizens don't take this sort of as we dodged a bullet. Here we are, we're out of the woods and it's just because of the weather. No, it's because we did what we needed to do and we had the time to do it. So massive shout outs to our crews who are out there spreading the brine, the rock, and the salt to be able to get the work done and get the roads in the condition they're in.
And what goes on today? I mean, it is going to be cold, especially as we head into tomorrow, too. Is there any more kind of treatment that needs to be done?
Yeah, we're still out there working, so everyone should hear that. As you return to the road today, just be aware that our crews are still very busy in Metro Atlanta. They are still working on checking bridges and overpasses, areas that are in the shade that might have black ice. So we're out there scouting for those icy patches. Again, behind me, you'll see we've got great road conditions in many areas. Still, because of the extreme cold, we still have that chance for icy patches, black ice, especially on the shoulders, in the shade. So we've got crews out and about checking and spreading for those. In the northeastern corner of the state, the bulk of the work we're doing, in addition to finding those icy conditions at interchanges just like this, that was a great pull-up, interchanges just like that, is also the trees that are down. Of the about 30, before I got on with y'all, we had about 30 road closures in this area. 20 of them are due to down trees. So it's not just road conditions, again, that we're dealing with. The bulk of what we're helping with now is clearing a lot of these trees out of our roadways.
Any of those major intersections that people need to know about right now? Any specific places you want to pass along of where not to go?
Yeah, I'd just be real careful up in Habersham County, White, Lumpkin, those areas, especially when you get to intersections and interchanges, any elevated surface. That's where we're seeing the most accumulation. But as you can see, there are plow crews. We watched this last night. You can see where our plow crews have been clearing that lane. You can see where they haven't been because there's still accumulation there. But again, brine did its job, the rock did its job, the salt did its job, but it can't get out there to do its job without our crews being on the road to do their job. So we had, full activation as a statewide plan. We were able to shift people and materials up to the northeast corner yesterday when we really saw that was going to be a heavier impact. So the best use of people and materials.
Natalie, schools are going to be closely watching the forecast and the roads today as they decide whether to resume normal operations tomorrow, maybe go on delay, maybe close. From a transportation perspective, what should principals and superintendents and parents and teachers, for that matter, be considering today as they weigh their options?
Well, we know that school superintendents put the safety of their students paramount. So what is going to be needed in one school system, maybe in the northeast corner of the state, isn't exactly what a superintendent who's, let's say, in Cobb County, that decision might need to be. So I know that they work very closely with groups like the National Weather Service, with meteorologists like Chesley, to make sure that they have all the information, that they know all the road conditions. We're, communicating that with them so they can make the best decision, not for all the students in the state, but for the best decision for the students in their district. And that really is very specific to different areas of Georgia. When you look at what we dealt with as a state yesterday, we had 4 tornado warnings in South Georgia while we were treating for an ice storm in North Georgia. So a lot of diversity in what's going on with weather and road conditions at any point in Georgia. So I do not envy superintendents for having to make that call, but families, parents, even, I'm a parent too. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. They're probably watching and they're home from school. And I don't envy superintendents for having to make that decision, because they have to make that decision well in advance so everyone can plan ahead. Some people like it, some people don't, but just know that they are putting your students' safety paramount, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie, I guess my final question to you. When do you get to go home, see your 6 and 9-year-old, and when do all these hard-working road crews get to go home and be with their families too?
Well, I'll be here for the bulk of the day, just making sure that we are communicating any unforeseen issues with y'all. Y'all have been great to communicate with throughout this, really bringing up-to-date information to your viewers. So we can't thank you enough. We couldn't do this without you. And so we'll be here through the bulk of the day. Crews are going to stay on. They're not out of the woods yet, so we will. They'll keep working until we're not.
All right. Well, if school's canceled again tomorrow, we might have to share a babysitter.
Yeah, hopefully not.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, Natalie. Great
You
hearing
too.
about the updates there to roads from GDOT. And we'll be back with plenty more coverage this morning here on 11 Alive Plus. It's nice to be with you on this Monday morning. Depending on where you live, it looks a little different outside your window right now. From where I live, just north of the city of Atlanta, it's just kind of wet right now. As I was leaving this morning, still some icicles hanging from my windows. But when you go a little further east, Athens, Clark County area, it looks like there's actually snow on the ground. But what about this wintry mix is it? Let's get some more from Joe Ripley, who was reporting from Athens.
We are seeing some progress concerning the roads here in Athens, Clark County. We're in downtown Athens right now, where some of the side streets still have some ice built up on them after it covering that layer that coated the classic city overnight over the last 24 to 36 hours. But progress being made because crews are plowing that ice or plowing the roads, making it more navigable for drivers. That sun shining too, doing its part to break up some of this ice and get it melted quicker. It'll have to battle those freezing temperatures, though, throughout today and tomorrow. As a result of this winter storm, a number of operations have been restricted and limited here in Athens, Clark County. Athens Technical College, the University of Georgia, and Clark County schools are all still closed on today, this Monday. As far as non-emergency operations and bus service in Athens, Clarke County, those we understand will pick up at some point later after the noon hour. So we're hopeful that progress is being made here in Athens. We'll continue to keep our eye on it. But some of the most serious damage has been done in northeast Georgia by this winter storm. Power crews we spoke with said they are centralizing and emphasizing their efforts near the South Carolina state line, where they say there are broken power poles, down trees and down power lines, making things tougher for crews. But they say pack your patience because thousands are without power. They hope to get it restored as soon as possible. In Athens, Joe Ripley, 11Alive News.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not just here at home that we're dealing with these power outages. It's also nationwide. These freezing temps putting nearly 200 million people under cold alerts, if you can imagine that. Tens of thousands of people in the dark still hunkered down after this same storm system barreled across the country. Let's get more from NBC's Emily Akita.
Hey there. Well, officials are calling this winter storm an Arctic siege. You can see my breath. You can see the snow. Nearly a foot of snow dumped here on Central Park, making it the largest snowstorm New York City has seen in some 5 years. And that light, fluffy stuff we saw falling yesterday, well, it has turned icy. You look at me picking this up. The consistency, it's heavy because of the freezing rain and the frigid cold temperatures that we saw. Now, blankets of snow, there are scenes like this across the country. Philadelphia seeing more than 9 inches of snow. In Providence, Rhode Island, we're looking at around a foot of snow. And in Boston, 16 inches and counting. Tragically, officials say so far 9 people have died in the storm. And today, hundreds of thousands of people are waking up and experiencing these bitter cold temperatures without power because the weight of the snow and in parts of the region up to an inch of ice, snapping tree branches and power lines, wreaking havoc in homes, but also on the roadways. In New York State, hundreds of accidents were reported yesterday alone, and we're also seeing that mess at America's airports. More than 4,000 flight cancellations and delays have been reported so far today. That comes on the heels of 17,000 plus flight disruptions yesterday. And the conditions are also prompting school cancellations across the country, from Memphis to Atlanta, from Philadelphia to Boston, and those cancellations could linger for a couple more days because of these bitter cold temperatures. In parts of New York State, people have experienced minus 30 plus degrees in temperatures. We're talking about actual temperatures. That's why officials are saying to bundle up if you're heading out the door today. Back to you.
All right, Emily Akita there reporting from New York, looking like a winter wonderland there. Here's we take a live look from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Blue skies. It's deceiving, though. It is a cold day. You don't want to stay out there or under the sun. How about the flight delays and cancellations that we're seeing here currently in Atlanta? I can tell you that yesterday it was close to 500 delays and 1,200 cancellations at one point. If you bear with me, I'm going to pull up the current delays and cancellations. In fact, Reams has it right now. How are we looking, Reams?
Right now, FlightAware reporting 243 delays at Hartsfield-Jackson, 203 cancellations so far. Much better than yesterday. Still seeing some of those residual impacts from the winter storms. A lot looking like the northeast part of this country of those delays originating or going towards the northeast. We're talking the New York airports, D.C., Boston, Baltimore, that kind of vibe.
Yeah, and just to put this in perspective, that's about 12% of all flights out of Atlanta today that are delayed and about 5% of all flights out of Atlanta that are canceled. So still a ton of planes coming and going just fine as we go on about our day here, the day after the storm. You know, Reams, at least people had in the days leading up to this the option to kind of change their flight for free, right?
They did. A lot of airlines, Delta, American, most of the major airlines across the country offering vouchers for those who did not want to fly or were not going to be able, if they knew their flight was going to get canceled and wanted to go ahead and get that rescheduled for free, offering free things. As we look at the misery map from FlightAware, yeah, that's a lot of misery.
Dallas looks to be the most miserable spot right now, with what, about 3/4 of flights being impacted?
Looks like that's 80%. Math is hard. Yeah, that's not looking good.
Charlotte, your old stomping
My old
grounds.
stomping ground, they have been just inundated. Atlanta, Hartsfield-Jackson telling us a couple days ago that they recently started leasing some new multimodal functional equipment pieces to actually make things or clean up the airport faster. They brought these new I was listening to the press conference a couple days ago. I'm going to go find this during the break, but bringing in about 5 these massive machines to help clean the airport runways and taxiways to get people into the de-icing area and over to why I'm up at myself as well. Let's go in the boxes here.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So that they can keep the runways nice and clean as much as possible.
I mean, get out ahead of it now, because you can treat this past storm as a practice round. Winter's still going to be with us for a while.
I got
in
a
fact,
few more months.
Yeah, still a few more months. And you saw Chesley's 7-day, and there's relief not here yet.
Let me go pull that up real quick.
Okay, yeah, Reem's going to get that 7-day for you. Go ahead and give you a little preview of what to expect. At least on the bright side, there's no precipitation that we need to be concerned about. Not another ice event coming your way, but if you haven't already dug out the big coats from your closet, the scarves, the gloves, you're going to want to. Because as we take a look at this 7-day, they are extending the weather impact alert day into tomorrow because of the cold temps, low at 15 tomorrow. But then look into the weekend, Reems. It's going to be cold
high
again.
Of 38. That's going to be cold.
Yeah. Start thinking of those indoor weekend activities. We'll talk to Chesley some more about that coming up here in just a couple minutes. Great to be with you here on 11Alive Plus, where we stream with you from 9 to 11 every morning, Monday through Friday, with you here inside the streaming center for the next 30 minutes. You'll hear from Chesley coming up in a few. Hey, here with you on 11Alive Plus from the streaming center for the next half hour. We've been touching on a lot of things related to the storm. You heard from GDOT, a live interview with one of their spokeswomen in the last half hour. And Chesley, she said she is giving drivers a 9 out of 10 grade with how they handled the storm this weekend.
I'd give them a 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
up.
I mean, it's very hard to get people to kind of believe what you're saying and that kind of thing. And I think they took the heat. I think a lot of people decided, it's a weekend. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm just going to sit inside, man, and watch this stuff come down. Now, it may not have met their expectations as some kind of drama of a storm, but it really helped out in letting GDOT do what they do and the power companies do what they do, and we fared very well, very, very well. So hats off to you. Yeah. Thank
you all did your part.
Thank you.
When you talk about the drama of the storm, I mean, it could have literally just been a degree or two difference. Could have changed the whole trajectory.
Even the path of the low. I mean, people probably don't appreciate how hard it is to forecast weather. Now, here in Georgia, it's very hard to forecast winter weather. And then when you have a wedge involved, when you talk about this wedge, this cold air damming up against the mountains, it becomes even harder because models don't handle that well at all. It may say, hey, there's no wedge at all. What are you talking about? And we got this cold air there, and then, we could say, hey, it's just going to rain. And then this ice or sleet comes down, and you're like, hey, what happened? So it becomes a very difficult thing to forecast. But with knowledge, having been in the area for a long time, it becomes easy. Myself, Chris Holcomb, we say we've seen it all. Probably not. Dare I say that? Right. We knock on wood. But we've seen a lot of systems come through, and that experience kind of helps us out to know exactly what's going to take place.
Well, hopefully an easier forecast this week. Blue skies and cold.
It's going to be beautiful looking from a window, and hopefully you'll do it from a window because, those temperatures will be bitterly cold. In fact, we extended the 11Alive weather impact alert to tomorrow morning because those temperatures will be down into the teens. We'll have some single digits out there as well. Not as much wind, but it will make it feel very cold. I want to show you what I mean by that. So you're looking at those temperatures right now, Dan, 27 degrees in Atlanta, right? Keep your eyes fixed on that right there. Our winds are out of the northwest at about 15 to 20 miles per hour, some up to 25 miles per hour. So when you factor that in, that's the way it feels in Atlanta, 13. So the actual air temperature is 27, but it feels like 13. And we got some single digits out there as well still. Canton and up toward Dalton, my favorite number, by the way, 7. That's the way it feels in your exposed skin. So when we say dress up in layers, that's what we mean. You're kind of keeping the heat inside, trapped inside of your clothing there so it doesn't get out rapidly. If you're not wearing a hat, for example, heat's able to escape out of your head. You feel nice and cold out there. So hopefully people not spending a lot of time. Maybe you're shuffling from your house to your car and then your car to a building. But know that it's going to be on the cold side, and we're going to do this again tomorrow. Temperatures will get up to about 32 degrees for this afternoon. And that's at the freezing mark right there. We should be in the 50s this time of year, so that's going to be very cold. In fact, we talked about that cold air alerts that we have. You have a cold advisory for tomorrow. It starts tonight, as a matter of fact, and will last until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And so we'll be looking at wind chills anywhere between 0 and 15 degrees. That's the way it's going to feel. So if your kids are going back to school, perhaps you're going back to work, note that early in the morning you're really going to have to bundle them up, or just keep them in the car until the bus comes and let them get on a bus that way, or just take them to school yourself, right? If you got the time and you got the means to do so. Our Monday planner. So today we talked about those temperatures only in the 30s. We'll have that sunshine around all afternoon long, but the winds will be there. So you're talking about winds, again, up to about 20 miles per hour, gust up to 50 miles per hour. Two things that will do. First of all, it's going to cool you down. It'll make you feel colder. Also, for any ice that has accumulated on trees and on power lines, that makes it easier for those to topple over or for those branches to begin to break. We even have a place in our parking lot, Dan, where we cannot park because we have a tower that sits over us, and no doubt there's ice on that tower, and that's coming crashing down thanks to the sun and the wind. And that hits your car or you could be very damaging. In fact, I may need some money from 11Alive. I should just walk over to. No, I'm just kidding. So you got to be on the lookout. If you have tall trees in your area or tall buildings, obviously walking downtown can be very dangerous as those ice sickles will be flying around. So again, staying dry. That's the good news, and sunny as well. You look at the 7-day outlook, nothing but sunshine in the forecast. We will have a cloud here or there, but for the most part, we're going to be dry, and that's good news because next weekend, colder air will be coming in. Now, I'm going to be generous with this. The way it looks right now, highs could only be in the 20s, but I'm going to say 33 on Saturday, Sunday 38. Now, that's hoping that the temperature will come up a little bit because of how far south we are. But looking at the models today, we could very well be in the 20s for highs over the weekend.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm running out of indoor activity ideas for the weekends.
Do you remember playing, and this may be, I'm dating myself, but we had paper footballs where you kick those. Did you ever do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Bring back
out
those
the paper
games.
footballs?
Yeah, bring back those games,
Justin,
Dan.
they got tablets now. They don't care about paper footballs. All right. We'll try it.
All right.
Thanks, Chesley.
Yep.
Hey, let's go to White County now and get an update on conditions there. Our Chase Howell was stationed there throughout the weekend. They were staying at a hotel and really got to know the community and know the area and know what they were dealing with there. And the big story out of White County and out of Cleveland, where you're going to hear from Chase in a moment, is power outages. Let's get some more from Chase Howell.
Yeah, I had absolutely no power this morning when I woke up. But look, I'm more confident today than I was yesterday that people will see their power restored, because the amount of crews I've seen coming out since 6 o'clock this morning has been incredible. I mean, dozens and dozens of people heading out to help get that power back on. And look, I was speaking to some linemen yesterday, and they told me that it really wasn't the ice on the power lines that was the issue. It was actually big old tree limbs like these that were actually breaking off the trunks and landing on top of those power lines that they struggled with. And I actually found that to be true, honestly, because during my drive here to Cleveland from Helen, I saw massive trees laying on top of power lines.
I know for a fact that we have a large crew working in White County and the surrounding counties backing up Georgia Power in HEMC. I would really like to see, or like to hope at least, that a large number of customers should get their power back today.
Now, look, while Don is hopeful, I want you guys to keep in mind, because he did tell me that the crew's primary focus is on areas that are heavily populated, but they will work themselves out into the rural areas to help get those people's power back on as well. But for right now, in White County, Chase Howell, 11Alive News.
Thanks. This is a storm that folks have been dealing with across the nation, from Texas all the way to New York. And in fact, happening right now in New York City, the new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, is holding a news conference alongside other city officials discussing their response efforts. Let's listen in momentarily.
From Molly, can she elaborate on the 3 folks who were forcibly removed, like the circumstances of it? And second, have the Adams era shelter rules relating to migrants been relaxed? And if they have, when must migrants leave the shelters?
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to get into the details of the 3 specific cases. I want to protect people's medical privacy. An individual who is not appropriately dressed, who is wet, who is unable to acknowledge that there are the real dangers. That is the kind of instance, particularly in this weather, where we'll take somebody to the hospital. And I do want to stress, these are decisions that are made by clinicians, and the next step is to take somebody to a hospital where a doctor can assess them fully and determine what the next step is there, right? So this isn't, it's not incarceration, and it's not involuntarily removing people to shelter. It really is about a medical decision making. We'll take the people to the emergency department, and the doctors there will make the appropriate decision. With respect to the asylum seekers, there is only one designated asylum seeker site left in the city. That's the Bruckner site that's operated by the Housing Recovery Office. There are no discharges happening at this time. The long-term plan for the Bruckner site is still under development, but there are no time limits on those shelter stays.
Every migrant who needs shelter can get shelter.
Anybody in the city of New York who needs shelter can get shelter.
Thank you. Hello, good morning, Ms. Mayor. I just want to get some clarity. I know you're not pinpointing the cause of death, but at this time, is New York City attributing the 7 deaths to the storm? That's one question, if we could get just some real clarity on that. And then the second question, I wonder if you're ready to give, I think this was part of the question that was previously being asked, if you give yourself and the city's response a grade for how you've done so far, and what was kind of you've talked about this, but what was your strategy going in? I know you looked at the kind of the failures of the past, but there was a lot more that went on in terms of the response and your particular role and presence during this time around. So what grade you give yourself and the rest of the response and the people behind you?
I will leave it to New Yorkers to give me a grade. I will, however, say that I am incredibly impressed and appreciative of the work of the city workers, both their leadership here and all of them who are out there across New York City. I think that for so many New Yorkers, for all of the conversation about politics, really what they want to know is, can you meet their basic needs? And I think what city workers showed yesterday is that we can. And it's only possible if you take time in advance to prepare for something like this. And so when I look at these commissioners, when I look at the heads of these agencies and departments, what I also see are not what they did, frankly, on Sunday or even on Saturday, but frankly, what they were doing on Thursday and Wednesday, the calls that they were having, the plan that they were having, procuring additional salt for the city just in case. we had to be ready for every eventuality. We were talking about a wide spectrum of possibility of snowfall, and I wanted to make sure that if anything, we were over-prepared and we were over-communicating to New Yorkers, because what we did not want to have happen was that a New Yorker would go about their day on Sunday without knowing that this would be the coldest weather they'd seen in 8 years, without knowing that this would be the largest snowfall we'd seen in years. We wanted every New Yorker to know that. And I'm also appreciative of those that are working behind the scenes. I've had a few, opportunities to meet them, but even the incredible men and women who run Notify NYC. Right, more than 1 million New Yorkers are signed up to a texting system, which you can also join by texting Notify NYC to 692-692. And when you do so, you get updates that can even be localized to your zip code. And that helps New Yorkers stay abreast. And I'd also just frankly say thank you to the press corps, because oftentimes the questions that you are asking are amplifying the concerns of everyday New Yorkers. And so that helps it bring it to the attention of city government. We want our government to be a responsive one. We want it to be an excellent one and an efficient one. And I'll just pass on the question about your first question. I think that the difficulty we have, frankly, is that it is still too early to attribute the cause of death, and therefore it's too early to tie it to the storm specifically. But as soon as we have those autopsy results, which we anticipate at sometime soon, we will be able to answer both that question and the earlier questions.
You said that all of the individuals, or most of them, had an interaction?
Some of them. Some of them, yes.
Okay.
Had an interaction with the shelter system.
Yeah, go ahead. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Any sense of the cost that this storm cost the city in terms of sanitation, extra overtime?
I'll just note that it's not over, so we're still doing our response, and we'll be doing that throughout the week, but also we will do whatever needs to be done to make sure New Yorkers are taken care of. That's the most important thing.
For the Deputy Mayor for Operations, I was wondering if you could walk us through a little bit about what that 311 review looked like of prior storms, and what sort of neighborhoods you identified and how to characterize the response to this storm.
Okay, so we have a monitoring capability to be looking at 311 complaints as they are happening during the storm in real time, and we also did a review of 311 complaints over the last few storms. We specifically wanted to focus on complaints around properties that we own to make sure that we're doing our part. And then we let all of our agencies know the specific locations that were issues in the last few storms so that they could target those locations and make sure that they were clearing sidewalks in front of city-owned property. We want to make sure we're doing our part as we're asking New Yorkers to do their part as well.
I'm wondering, you've mentioned that you're planning to reopen schools tomorrow. We're talking about clearing the sidewalks. Is there a concern about refreezing overnight? Have you spoken with the Chancellor about the possibility of another day of virtual learning? And when can families expect to get an update, if there is one, as far as virtual learning?
So I think this is part of what the Chancellor had shared earlier, which is that right now there are hundreds of DOE employees who are also supplementing the work of DSNY, as well as many other city agencies and departments, in clearing the snow right outside of schools to make sure that it is safe for students to actually return. I think that's just, to be clear, that's what drives all of our decisions, is safety. That's why we made the decision for today to be remote, because the conditions were so hazardous that we didn't want there to be so many more New Yorkers who were out having to come to school. We're going to be sharing that decision with New Yorkers soon, around tomorrow and the days to come. However, what I will say is that is our hope, is to ensure that we return to in-person learning.
We have time for a few more. Moses and then Tim.
All right, I wanted to ask about power outage.
Listening to the somewhat new New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani responding to the first big storm he's had to deal with. It brought air travel to a standstill there in the city. Same storm system we're working with here. And it appears like school's going to be closed for the day, though they are in virtual learning for many school districts there. But what does the rest of the week hold in store for New York City? The mayor touching on that. Also, sadly, some storm-related fatalities there out of the Big Apple. Back here at home, though, we are mostly now just dealing with power outages. Our Rebecca Lindstrom is keeping an eye on it all weekend. Rebecca, not too long ago we were talking about some of the rural areas being hit the hardest here in Georgia. They diverted some resources up to North Georgia to take care of that, and it appears to be paying off.
It does appear to be paying off. We've got about 4,000 households that are back online since the last time we talked, and when you consider there were about 20,000 just through the EMC system that were without power. I mean, that's a big difference,
Yeah.
for them. I do want to point out, though, right here, a little bit closer to where we are in the metro, there is a power outage that is now being reported from Georgia Power. It's impacting about 1,000 customers, and this is going to be on Webb Bridge Road between Georgia 400 and Joan Bridge Road. And so if you're looking at that map, it's going to be kind of the blue. There you go. There you go. You can kind of see there's sort of like 3 different things happening, but when you add all of those together, that's about 1,000 customers without power. And we've been talking about the wind that would be going on still today. And the impact that could have. And so we know that these power outages, they're just going to fluctuate throughout the day, but by and large, we are seeing a positive trend toward getting service restored for folks. I mean, looking up at the Northeast, where most of these, I did the math, and it was about 95% of the power outages that we're dealing with are up in the Northeast. And that is where Rabun and White County really hard hit, and sort of that location where we're glad to report that they are now starting to see some of the positive benefits of that work that they're doing. I mean, that area, just a lot of trees. Habersham EMC has shared some photos with us of the work that they are out there doing and what they're having to deal with. And some of the fluctuation in numbers is because they'll post what they predict the outage is going to, the number of people who are being impacted by that outage. But it isn't until they get there on scene and they truly understand the extent of the damage that they can make that number a little bit more official. And so that's why even in some of these areas, you'll see those numbers fluctuate a little bit, but a positive trend, I'd say.
You were watching this all day yesterday. At the height of things, how bad was it?
I was here in the morning, and then I think the height of things really happened in
Later
late
in the afternoon,
early evening. I tried to go back and look at some of those numbers. I would say that, we were close to 90,000 people without power.
Okay.
So a lot of work has gone on overnight. And even when we were talking about these numbers, those are how many who are without power now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to consider that people lost power, then someone else lost power, someone gained power. So that's not the total throughout this system.
It's ebb and flowing.
It's who at this current moment doesn't have power. And, we'd have to go back and really kind of look over a time period of what if that is a unique number to know how many customers were really impacted throughout the storm.
Yeah.
But at its height, I would say you had about 70,000, 80,000 customers at one time who were without power.
Well, I got to think if you do lose power today, it's working in your favor that we are still under the state of emergency because it's kind of all hands on deck. And they've even opened warming centers at state parks across the state, like 16 different warming centers. So there are options out there while we're under the state of emergency.
If you are in that Northeast area, though, you've probably been without power for a day, for the longest period of time. And you were saying earlier, these people probably are used to it. They know what's coming, but there still has to be that element of, it's still a disruption in your life, and it's really cold.
Sure. Yeah. I guess it's the price to pay for the beauty of North Georgia because it
gorgeous.
is beautiful up there. All right. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Appreciate your time this morning. And we have some more headlines coming up after this short break. Thanks for watching us here on 11Alive Plus. More videos this morning have emerged in the killing of 37-year-old Alex Preddy by federal agents in Minneapolis on Saturday, and it appears to contradict the Trump administration's account of the events leading up to that shooting. Let's get more from Morgan Chesky on the ground in Minneapolis.
Yeah, here in Minneapolis, another incredibly tense night following the shooting death of 37-year-old VA nurse Alex Preddy. There were multiple arrests overnight after protesters clashed with authorities outside of a hotel that they believed federal agents were staying at. In the meantime, two federal law enforcement sources now tell NBC News that they believe DHS will be the lead agency into the investigation of Preddy's death, assisted by the FBI and the DOJ, which notably is a deviation from what is standard protocol. In the meantime, there is an absolute palpable tension here with the release of multiple different angles capturing this fatal encounter between Preddy and federal agents there Saturday morning, where he appeared to help a woman holding a phone in his hand before being taken to the ground, contradicting DHS statements saying that he approached the area brandishing a firearm. NBC News has independently verified at least 5 separate angles of this shooting, which is certainly igniting a new firestorm in this city following the shooting death of Renee Good nearly 3 weeks ago. In the meantime, we know that a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from altering or destroying any evidence in Preddy's shooting investigation after local officials here sued. And in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, President Trump said that federal authorities here will eventually have to leave at some point, but that they've done a phenomenal job. But he did not offer a clear timeline as to when that could eventually take place. Notably, when asked if he believed if this agent did the right thing or not, the president did not give a clear answer. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Minneapolis.
Morgan Chesky reporting there from Minneapolis. A story not going anywhere. You know, it follows the shooting death of Renee Good about 3 weeks ago, another 37-year-old there in Minneapolis by federal agents. So what happens next with the investigation? Who's going to be leading this investigation? What's next for ICE's presence there in Minneapolis? Still a lot of questions that remain unanswered, and a big story that the networks will be following today right here on NBC and 11Alive. Another breaking news story we got within the last couple hours. Israel's military says it has recovered the remains of the final hostage in Gaza. This is Ron Vili. This now clearing the way for the next phase of the ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. So in the grand scheme of things, this could be a big moment. He was a 24-year-old police officer killed during the Hamas-led attack back on October 7th, 2023. His family had urged Israel not to move forward with the ceasefire until his remains were returned. Well, here we are now. It appears that has finally happened. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling the recovery an incredible achievement. Israel says it will now open the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt, which has been largely shut down since May of 2024. So a lot to follow there on the Gaza front this morning as well. More breaking news today from here in the U.S. Earlier this morning on our morning show, we brought you news of a plane crash in Bangor, Maine. A private jet carrying 8 people crashed shortly after takeoff. This came as visibility was low and it was snowy out there, so conditions not ideal. Did weather contribute to this crash? That's going to be the big question for NTSB investigators who are going to be out there today. It's going to be a big question for the FAA, who's also going to be looking into this. And sadly, we can now confirm that it appears 8 fatalities aboard this crash, this plane. Still working to learn some more details about all that. It happened around 7:45 Sunday night. That airport remains shut down into the early morning hours as well. And so more on that to come as well. Story out of Maine with that private jet crash. In the meantime, we do want to thank you for joining us here on 11Alive Plus this morning. We every morning try to bring you breaking news from around the nation, breaking news here at home, and putting it all in perspective for you as we take a live look from the world's busiest airport. The planes are flying today about 12% of all flights at last check are delayed out of ATL right now. About 5% are canceled. A far cry from yesterday, though, as it was really icy and we were concerned about some of the storm conditions around our area. There were closer to 1,200 cancellations and hundreds of delays at the airport as well. Things moving well on the roads, too, as we take a live look from our Truist Park camera. And we're going to have much more on the weather coming up here in just a couple minutes. If you stick with us on 11Alive Plus, Chesley's full forecast coming up. Look on Wall Street before we leave you today. The Dow up 200 points to start the day after having a couple nice wins last week as well. Dow closing in fewer than 700 points away from hitting that 50,000 mark. Could it happen this week? We'll be keeping an eye. A bunch of key earnings this week on deck as well from some big tech companies. So lots to follow there. More headlines coming your way in just a couple of minutes. Stick with us here on 11 Alive Plus.